In a world of humans, vampires, and demons is our main character named Staz, who is a vampire born. Although he is an otaku and loves geek things, this world is divided in two worlds, the human world and the demonic world, and the main character, although it does not seem, is someone busy. And one day, his subordinates called him, saying that a human girl entered into the demon world. Seeing so many waifus, he always dreamed of seeing a human waifu, so he tells his subordinates to bring her to him. Since the main character is a boss of a part of this demon world, various parts of this world are controlled by a boss. In a few words, each region has its boss. And once the waifu arrives, the main character can finally talk about otaku issues with someone and enzyme with a girl. But apparently, it was a person who challenges the main character and is making a mess for it to come out. Because if they cut off his head, automatically, the one who cut it off will be the new boss. Although he doesn't want to pay attention to it because it happens daily, so he prefers to spend his time with the waifu. But she tells him that she really doesn't know how she got here. But what she does know is that she has to fight that one to save her friends. And yes, the main character defeats it easily, but when she was going home, the waifu was devoured by this plant and died. Well, no, she became a ghost, because if a human dies in this world, they become a ghost. Although it doesn't really seem like it, but, well, then the waifu remembers how it got here. And it's through this door that you only appear as a sorcerer. Powerful, wants to go to the human world. And well, the main character wants to go to the human world, but first, he wants to examine the waifu. And that's why they go to the cafeteria, where this raccoon, or whatever it is, tells the main character that he can go to the human world. The main character knows that he would become a demon, but, well, nobody knew that the main character wanted to go. Thank God, a new boy. He wanted to join the main character's band, and that guy could transform into anyone he wanted, and he admired the main character. The next day, the protagonist enters the human world together with Fuyumi, the girl. When they are at Fuyumi's house, the main character sprays saliva on Fuyumi's father to make him follow his orders, and the main character does the same with more people. His saliva does not work with demons. At school, Fuyumi's body begins to disappear, but the main character helps her by giving her his own blood. Since with her blood, she can make Fuyumi's body reappear, but it is only temporary. Later, the protagonist decides to return to the demon world to regain strength and return to the human world. But it turns out that the curtain through which they entered has an owner. The owner's name is Belle, and she won't let them through the curtain again since she charges them 30 million yen per person for the trip. It turns out that Belle kept the curtain, but someone moved it and stole her time-space magic, and now she's looking for whoever made it to marry him. Later, the main character begins a bad relationship with Belle, while Fuyumi gets along with Belle. A while later, Belle tells them that she had a resurrection book, but she sold it to a demon in the north of the demon world. The demon he supposedly sold it to is a territory boss named Wolf, and coincidentally, he and the main character have been friends since they were little. Anyway, the main character finds Wolf and asks him to give him the book, but it turns out that Wolf doesn't have the resurrection book, so the main character proposes him to have a bowling competition. If the main character wins, Wolf will have to look for the book, and if Wolf wins, the main character will have to give him Fuyumi. Later, it turns out that it has turned from a bowling competition to a boxing match. Long story short, in the end, the fight stops as Fuyumi stops them and tells them not to fight, and seconds later, Belle magically appears and sends them somewhere else. It turns out that Belle manipulated the main character and Wolf since she was the one who changed from bowling to boxing, and she lied to the main character, telling him that Wolf had the resurrection book, but in the end, Belle gives the resurrection book to the main character. After everyone tries to read it, no one succeeds because the book is encrypted. When the main character sees who the author of the book is, he is very surprised, because the author of the book is his older brother, Braz. To go see Braz, he has to go to a place called Acropolis, where only elite people and prestigious demons are allowed to live. The protagonist fled from Acropolis as a child because Braz tried to kill him. Let me explain. Since he was a child, the main character had a great magical power inside him, but he couldn't get it out, and Braz managed to get that immense power out. But later, he sealed it with a pistol bullet in the heart of the main character, like this, that if the main character takes out the bullet, he will be able to have his magical power again. But the main character is not interested in taking it out. According to the main character, it turns out that Braz was not trying to seal his power, but was trying to kill the protagonist. And when the protagonist found out, he escaped from Acropolis. Anyway, Belle takes the main character to his room, and there the main character tells him about his past. She and the main character make a deal. Belle takes him to Acropolis, and he has to come with the bullet already removed from his heart. A while later, Belle already clears his suspicions of the main character that he stole his magic, and the main character tells her that when they have removed the bullet, he will come for her and steal the magic. She hears that and instantly falls in love with him. The next day, the main character is already in Acropolis, but he is fleeing from his younger sister, since she has a grudge against him because he ran away from home, and because Braz has a preference for him. In the end, Liz, the main character's sister, takes him to prison, and there the main character presses a button that turns out to be a button to activate a challenge. On the other hand, Wolf takes Fuyumi to a doctor to see what she is going through because Fuyumi is disappearing again. But later, they make a deal. If Wolf wins, a doctor's creation that now is very dangerous and is destroying everything in search of new parts for his body, the doctor will save Fuyumi. And if he doesn't win, the wolf ends up dead. Fuyumi dies, or rather disappears. We return with the main character. He is losing against some zombies created by Liz. Well, rather, he has already lost many times, only he does not stop pressing the challenge button until Braz shows up. In short, it turns out that Braz was not trying to kill the main character when they were little, but he shot him the bullet to seal the main character's powers, since when Braz managed to get all the power out of the main character, every time the main character used that large amount of power would end up fainting, and if he continued like this, he would end up dying. So Braz came up with the idea of sealing the Prota's powers. Let's come back to the present. Many things happened, and Braz takes out the bullet that the main character had and thus recovers his powers. But the main character, in exchange for Braz telling him how to resurrect a human, he has to kill that creation of the doctor that is devastating with everything. Well, Wolf continues fighting against that creation, but he can't defeat him since he is very powerful, until the main character comes and hits the creature and manages to defeat him. Later, the doctor tells Belle that the person who gave him the body of the creation was Santa Claus, and according to Belle, Santa Claus is the one who stole the space-time magic. Later, Wolf asks the main character for a fight, and, well, the main character wins him without making the most effort, minimum, since in his current power, he can win everyone. Next, Meanwhile, Braz and Liz come to the demon world since Liz has worked there, and Braz takes the opportunity to tell the main character how to resurrect a human, and also Braz tested the power of the main character to see if the main character could do a certain job. What will it be? Anyway, after a while, the main character, together with Braz, undresses Fuyumi so that Braz can give her a dose so that she revives. She still doesn't revive. And later, the main character gives her a little of his blood so that she doesn't disappear. Later, Braz returns to Acropolis, but Liz stays in the demon world since Braz asked her to keep an eye on the hero. Since Braz is in the lab experimenting with something and he doesn't want the hero to come, well, Liz spends the day with the main character and with Fuyumi, and Liz manages to get along with Fuyumi very well, and the main character manages to do his big brother role very well. The next day, it turns out that Fuyumi has run away from home, but it seems that instead of running away, she has been kidnapped by someone. Luckily, Liz knows that Braz put a locator on Fuyumi when he gave her that dose of resurrection, and she tells the main character. The main character tells Liz to go to Acropolis so that Braz can tell him where Fuyumi is, and Liz agrees, since Fuyumi has become her friend. Later, they find out what the face of the person who has kidnapped Fuyumi looks like, and also find out which way they went. When Liz arrives at Acropolis, a policewoman tells her that they are going to arrest her brother for entering and leaving Acropolis without permission. And not only are they going to arrest him, but they will also bring him in front of the king. And the king is someone from Brazil he hates a lot, since the king separated the main character, Liz, and his parents. Later, the main character has finally discovered who has kidnapped Fuyumi, and it turns out to be Belle's brother. When Belle realizes that his brother is the one who has kidnapped Fuyumi, he decides to help him, so he starts fighting the main character in a strange room. It turns out that Belle is jealous of Fuyumi, since she likes the main character, and the main character doesn't notice Belle. But he notices Fuyumi. That's why he doesn't want to help the main character to rescue Fuyumi. In the end, Belle and the main character fight in a duel. If Belle wins, the main character will have to be his slave. And if the main character wins, Belle will have to help him find Fuyumi. As expected, the main character wins the duel. So Belle helps him find Fuyumi. Braz is with the king talking, and it turns out that Braz is the one who created that creation that defeated the main character, who, by the way, is called Akim. Or rather, Braz is the one who got Akim's body, and Akim's body belonged to the king. Now the king is angry, and Vance tells him to take the throne from him. The king gives him 3 days to bring someone to try to take the throne from him, and if he does not succeed, he will kill him. By the way, Banz is Santa Claus, which means that Banz is the one who stole the magic from Belle. Well, Banz manages to escape from the king's palace, but a very powerful policeman is chasing him. But in the end, he manages to return home, thanks to Liz helping him by teleporting him. Anyway, the main character is with Fuyumi, since they have already found her, or rather, Belle already knew where she was. Now, they are at Belle's house, and a lot of things happen, but the most important thing is that it turns out that Belle's mother is Fuyumi's mother. Let me explain. There is a possibility that in the human world, there is a person who is identical to someone in the demon world. So, since Belle's mother also knows space-time magic, she travels to the human world, and what happens when you see your double is that they merge into the same person, and in this case, Belle's mother merged with Fuyumi's mother since she was her double. Very messy, right? Anyway, Belle and Fuyumi's mother doesn't let the main character resurrect Fuyumi. Instead, she tells the main character that he can suck her blood instead of Fuyumi's. In case you didn't know, the main character wants to resurrect Fuyumi to suck her blood, but now he doesn't know if that's what he wants to do. A while later, the main character meets Belle's father. In short, the father makes the main character swear to ask Fuyumi first if she wants him to resurrect her, and if she wants, before the main character sucks her blood, he has to ask her if he can suck her blood, and the protagonist accepts the terms. After that, the main character is with Fuyumi, and he asks her if she wants to be resurrected, because if he resurrects her, she will forget everything that has happened to her, and she accepts because she wants to return to her father. Anyway, we have already reached the OVA, and the truth is trash. After Fuyumi agrees to be resurrected, they enter the demon world from the south, and surprisingly run into a group of vampire slayers. In short, that group kidnaps Fuyumi, and the attacks they launch at the main character cannot be healed. But in the end, the main character manages to save Fuyumi by defeating that group. Now, Fuyumi is with the main character, heading to Acropolis in a ship, and that group are now the main character's slaves.